early stages, I I haven't spent like a lot of time with my parents because they're working overseas, and in the Philippines, it's really hard to just provide for a family if you stayed in the Philippines and find work there. It's always the option to take that risk of being away from your child to provide, because yeah, life is tough. And I remember back then we were really just struggling, um, like financially, even though my grandma doesn't want it to show it to me and my sister, and doesn't want to show like my mom's struggle in overseas because she just bounced from job to job, and it's a lot for her, like a lot of sacrifices that needs to be done. So yeah, I'm just grateful that I have those humble beginnings because it connects to who am I today, you know? And I would never forget all those times where I spent I spent my time playing outside in the streets with with our own community there in the Philippines, and it's just like a happy place for me. Every time I think back to that memory, I always think that, man, that's where my roots are. It would never change. So yeah, so there we go, Philippines. And then my mom, of course, she wants to spend time with me and my sister, and as a family, we have to stay together. So she brought us to Qatar. If you guys don't know Qatar, just a fun fact, like that's where FIFA happened, right? So 2022, I think, yeah. So it's a really small country, and it's thriving. It's developing. It's not There's not a lot of like systems in place, like, or the economy is like booming or whatnot. They have oil, yes. They're a rich country, but it's not like here in the West where there's a lot of systems in place that's organized and like very um, been following for decades. So in Qatar, I remember when I was there, I was surrounded by all Filipinos too. Like, kids look like me, and we went to Filipino schools because there's just so many Filipinos in that country because everyone's working to provide for their families, and the money is there. So that's why a lot of the parents just took that route and took the risk of working, work, and then if you don't work, actually you are not permitted to stay in the country too. So it's like, unlike here, citizenship, yes, or permanent residence, you can stay, but there it's all about just grinding. And then yeah, so after in 2017 we moved to Canada because of that sole reason. There's no permanent residence, there's no citizenship. It's like it's kind of like a dead end. It's like, yes, we're getting good money and like saving up money, but at the end of the day, my mom took the bigger, look at the bigger picture, and for her kids to have opportunities and where to work, or what do we want to do in life. So they just decided to move here in Canada. And yeah, ever since 2017, I started high school here, grade 10, 11, 12. Big culture shock. I have it in my notes. Actually, I didn't pull it out because I was too nervous. Okay, let me put it out right now. Okay. Yeah, so started back to square one when we moved in Canada, because it's like, all right, now we built something in Qatar. We have communities. I will go on about my dance journey there, but just personal life for now. And we're doing good. And then we went here, and it's like completely just like boom, like shut down, because Canada is tough. Like the West is so new to us. All the traditions, all the beliefs, all the culture is so different. And I can't imagine, like, yeah, it's like going to the Philippines, right? That's another culture. Going to the Middle East, it's a lot of respect because it's a Muslim country too, Islam country. So you have to be respectful everywhere you go. And here in Canada, it's like there's still respect, of course, but it's like so open to everything. and that just like completely forced me to just adapt. Okay, and what helped me adapt is dance. Yeah, so here's me, my dance journey. I'm gonna talk about how I started dancing. First of all, you go, there's bullet points. Started dancing Qatar and experienced doing gigs at 11 years old. So I would expand on this. Okay, it didn't like just pop out of nowhere, like where I'm invited to do all these gigs and do get paid, whatnot, whatever. It started from Filipinos who work 9 to 5 in Qatar, or even like 12 hours shift, and they love dance so much that they just want to keep pushing it to other people too, to teach, to share. And to us kids at that time, we love it too, and they just, after their shift, they would teach us dance and like have like a little dance crew. Okay, and they would do this auditions, and for auditions I'm like, I don't know what that even means. And the story was, my sister was actually going to that audition with her friends, and typical, well, if you're going, bring your little brother with you. So I was just like tagging along, and my sister and her friends have this like routine that they did, and I'm like, oh, you have to have a routine. And then for me, I'm like, I don't know how to do that, like. So I was just dance, and then I was like, play any music, and then they just played it, and I'm like, okay, I danced, and they accepted me, which is the start of the gigs and stuff. Because first of all, we're just doing it for fun, for the love of it, and we dance everywhere. We dance in the parks, we dance at someone else's apartment lobby, or we go to like a cooler place, because in Qatar it's hot, it's a desert, and you can't really just stay out in the sun, and like, you're gonna die from dehydration. So we just like pick places from, to stay cool, still get our groove on, and make pieces and stuff and all that. So yeah, as we're doing that, people seem to notice. And then, again, Qatar don't have a system yet. It's not like very developed. Then they started seeing the opportunity of, we need dancers. And then that's the time when they're like, okay, we can pay you guys. So that's what I experienced. And for the adults at that time teaching me, they didn't show it to me like it's a job. So, which I'm really grateful for, because it's like they're truly doing it for the love of it. It's not like, okay, this is a job, you got to take it seriously, so we have to make them happy, like the clients happy, all that. No, they never told us that. They just really want us to have fun, do what we've been practicing, show that on the stage, and which I'm really grateful for, because if it became a job to me at that young age, my mindset would be totally different now. But yeah, really grateful for those guys. Shout out to all of my teachers there. And yeah, moving on. Moved to Canada and danced competitively with LFX. So this is the time where we moved to Canada, and I was so culture shocked, because like, wait, you have to pay for dance? You know what I mean? Like, you got, yeah, like, we have to pay monthly until we're done. And then my mom is like, yeah, we're not doing that. So for me, I was like so sad. I was like so heartbroken, because like that feeling of you belong in a crew. And as a kid, that's so important. Okay. And now I'm realizing it, now that I teach kids, it's like, for them, it's such a big thing. Yeah, going back to that, and that's, Illafex was the only one that I know, because I didn't know anyone else in the country, in the city. We don't have relatives to count on. We don't have nothing. We just literally know how to survive first. Okay. And then, yeah, and when I went to St. Francis High School, someone saw me at a dance class, Dance 15, shout out. She was like, oh, you should audition to LFX, because, to be part of a crew, because you're good. And then, just kids just like dancing around, and she just saw me. And then I actually went, and then that's the time they broke down the fees, and like, I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna tell this to my mom? And I told it to my mom, and she's like, immediately no. And then had to like, I remember I was like crying that night because like, please mom, like let me dance, let me dance. I really want to do this. I can't dance and live this like life of trying to figure out everything in Canada without my outlet, you know? And as a kid, I didn't know I understand that so quickly because in Qatar, it's just there for me like all the time and it's free, you know? Like I can just go to the park, wherever, and dance freely. And here it's like you have to have permission to dance, um, which is like a really, really. I think it was like a core memory for me that's so sad because I just see my mom like she's really angry and she's really she can't resonate with like how I feel, and that's that moment on I feel like we kind of like, you know, kind of just like being that mother and son relationship, we kind of like just took a toll on us and like kind of, you know, kind of just split apart and just like have arguments here and there and all that. Anyway, now I have a chip on my shoulder. So that's the time where I taught classes regularly, and I always flex to my mom that, mom, I got paid. You know, like I got paid to teach, to dance, to do what I love. And to her, that's like a good approval, you know, like good because we need money to survive. And I kept going, teaching classes and dancing, and that's where I got to this bullet point where I taught classes nationally and internationally as well, which I'm very grateful for. And then, yes, co-director of the masses now, also teaching at Artist Avenue, and we're starting this new thing called Street Dance Syllabus. I teach, yeah, I teach pretty much like in a lot of spaces and different crowds, which is like I want to share a lot of when we get to that teaching portion. But yeah, that's my dance journey. So there we go. Teaching. Let's look at first the definition of teaching. There's a lot of definitions that I searched, but this is the one that really like stuck out to me. Teaching is the specialized act, practice, or profession of imparting knowledge, skills, and understanding to learners. It involves creating an environment, implementing systematic methods, and providing engaging, evidence-based instruction to facilitate learning. Effective teaching goes beyond mere instruction to empower students, nurture growth, and bridge gaps in understanding. So if you guys want to like write that down, that's literally I'm molding my teaching portion to this definition. Yeah. So yeah, I put beside it, being a good dancer does not equate to being a good teacher. And I stand by that by 100% because it's like, I don't know about some of the experienced dancers here who take classes from other people and they go take classes from big teachers, I would say, and they're like, we didn't really learn anything. You know what I mean? Like, yes, like they're popping off on social media, they're popping off on everywhere, and they're getting booked for gigs, booked for like tours and stuff. But when you go to their class, it's like, hold on. Try to think back, like, what did I learn? Even though, like, at least one thing, you know, like you learn from that class. It's like, wow, none, you know? So it's like, it's proven time and time again that being a good dancer does not equate to being a good teacher. So now we have that responsibility, right, to know what we're really doing and how we're gonna translate that to sharing to other people, and how are they gonna take it and understand it and work on themselves. Okay, so again, this definition of teaching is that encompasses everything that I want to like say in this content. So, um, yeah, any questions so far, or any like we have lots of time. Any questions so far for like my dance journey, or in this slide? I'm gonna talk about more in this slide, but like I forgot to ask. Yeah, any questions? We good? Questions, bro?
When was your first moment that you can remember that your passion for dance got ignited?
Good question. So I'm gonna repeat it for the stream because yeah, the mic is here. So
Sorry, I can't
no,
hear.
you good, you good, you good. Yeah. So his question was, when was the time? I think
Your passion of dance got ignited in.
my passion of dance got ignited in. So really good question. So trying to think back, it started when I was still in the Philippines, really, like when I was a kid. And every time, Filipino parties are huge, it's like a whole fiesta, like the whole block. And everyone's just sharing food. Like, did you eat yet? No? Okay, come on, eat. Even they don't know you, it's a big party. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is every party, they play music as well. And my uncle, he plays hip hop music. Okay, and then I just like always dance on top of a table or like a chair or something because I don't know. And they always tell me stories to this day. Like when I FaceTime them from the Philippines, like, yeah, you remember when you're doing this at one party and we're playing this song and you're just dancing. And then to me, I was a kid. I didn't remember that. Okay, but nowadays I go back to that moment because I feel like that's my starting point when I was a kid. Even though I wasn't fully conscious yet, I was just like, that's the that ignite me when every time there's music, I dance without asking permission to dance, without asking to, just take up space. I just
You dance on the table.
exactly, like I'm like I want to be like the center of attention. Yeah, but I feel like that's the moment, and then yeah, another moment that's from when I was a kid, and then another moment when I was in when I moved to here actually, um, my passion to pursue the career in dance is when I saw how my family's struggling, and it's just again I had that chip on my shoulder to prove to my mom that I can help this way, doing the thing I love. So at that moment on, that literally, when I cried that night, that just, my motivation, my discipline is just like, from this moment on, I'm taking every classes at 100%. And I want to get good. I want to be a better dancer for my future. That's like the second igniting of my passion to pursue a career. So, yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, that was like
Thanks for sharing.
insightful. Of course, bro. Of course. Mila.
So I have a question. So because you're saying that like being a good dancer, of course, doesn't equate to being a good teacher,
Hmm.
how do you evaluate like for your programs that you throw or for your own like learning? Who do you like? How do you evaluate who is a good teacher and who you want to learn from or who you want to bring to have people like in masses or whatever that you
Hmm.
want to bring?
Yeah. So how I evaluate people is really simple. It's just showing that they care. That basic human decency, that you care about what you're talking about and you care about the people in the room. Like I've seen you teach, Mila, and that's like, I respect you a lot because when I saw you like teaching house, that's like, wow, like you really care about what we're gonna get as students, and you as a teacher breaking it down and like trying to do your research more, and like really, even like if someone asks, like someone has a question about one move and you don't know that answer, you're not gonna say like, you're not gonna make stuff up to just to answer that question and to look like I'm a good teacher. What a good teacher is, I feel like when they say I don't know, I have to do more research, and um, that's how I evaluate people, because that's really about teaching, not about this is about my class and I'm the center of attention, and like I'm gonna do my thing and then that's it. Yeah. So first is showing me that you care. Second is you continuously training. There we go. Because how can you teach if you're not training, right? Like outside of teaching. So yeah, those two things are really, really how I evaluate. Because people from across the world have different backgrounds and different experiences, but it always goes down to principles. More information than you think. Younger ages tend to remember moments for the rest of their lives and can even shape their adolescence and adulthood. And yeah, I wrote down like what I really think for kids and teenagers. This is just like a summary of that, but I'm gonna talk more. First is 3 to 4 years old. How can you teach them and make them retain information? In my experience, it's a lot of games. Okay, games can really help with kids, and they would agree. If you want to like play a game, like they would just like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, because they have so much energy. They want to like do something fun. So, in 3 to 4 years old too, you can't teach them a lot where it's gonna overload them to the point where they just kind of dissociate. Okay, so what I do is something at first in the classes is to start the class by asking them, what are you grateful for today? As simple as that. And it's gonna ground them to like think first. Okay, and then after that, you try to play the icebreaker, warm up stretch, of course, but then you do icebreaker where they're just gonna have fun, but not to the point where they're too hyper. Okay, so you want to level that energy in the room to make them focus, because again, they have a shorter attention span and they have limited patience for you when you're talking a lot. You know what I mean? Like they're just gonna like do something else. So that's my way of, in my experience, that worked for me. So again, grounding them, like sitting down in a circle, ask them what you're grateful for today, or like, what is your favorite food or whatever, all that like question every start of the class, and then you make them do something fun, like maybe literally running across the room, right, to just even expend their energy, so they go back to from high to like mid again, and then now you can start teaching them stuff. And I would say the same thing for 5 to 7 years old, because they're still in that phase where it's just like la 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 la, like just want to play all day. But I would say for them to move their bodies in a way that they're aware. So really having that patience with these groups, this age group, because it's they're going through a lot on their own, and they sometimes they be sensitive, and sometimes they're really not feeling to dance. But as teachers, right, I put this here. Younger ages tend to remember moments for the rest of their lives and can even shape their adolescence and adulthood. So, if we're teaching a class of, let's say, 11 to 13 years old and 14 to 17 years old, at this phase of age, they rebel. They answer back. They feel like they know a lot, and they just like, just like fight back at you. As teachers, as mentors that are gonna guide them, we have to have that barrier, that boundary. Sorry, not barrier, boundary that they cannot cross, because they're gonna walk all over you. And as a teacher, you're teaching these kids discipline as well, not just the dance portion, right? discipline that can help them throughout their whole lives. Because again, kids absorb more information than you think. So if we don't correct them from one action they did, they're gonna keep doing it, and it's gonna pass on to later years as well. You know, so have that boundary that if they act a certain way, correct them, and be stern about it, right? Like how I'm talking to you guys, it's like I'm looking you eye to eye, I'm telling what I have to say, and I mean it. If you're talking to a kid and you like just don't do that. No, don't do that next time. It's not gonna register because it's like, well, you're not looking at me. They don't feel it. Like kids actually feel that connection if you look at them in the eye and like ask them, were you aware of what you did? And they say no, or if they say yes, then answer along the way, like correct them and try to like guide them in a way where it's gonna help them throughout their literally their whole lives, you know. So I put it here in the first one, requires a lot of patience and the right heart and mindset. If you guys are wanting to teach and you get opportunities to teach kids, do a lot of reflection first, okay? Because yes, first of all, good money, that's good, right? But if that's your goal, you're gonna burn out really quick because you don't know the purpose of what you're doing, especially to kids. It's so important at this stage of their lives to learn the right way. Yeah. So yeah, general advice, learn how to read the room and adjust accordingly. Very big. Like having that emotional intelligence to read it, like literally sense what everyone's feeling. This kid is going hyper. This kid is crying, you know, like this kid is like just kind of as lazy day. Where is the middle ground of all that? Yeah. So that's teaching in a nutshell. Reading the room, the content is actually just bonus of how we read the room and adjust, you know, because no one's gonna learn if they're not you're not adjusting to what they need. Okay, at that moment they need less energy. Okay, how are you gonna ground them? Okay, that moment they need more energy. How are you gonna ground them? Okay, there's so many ways, and it takes practice. It takes time, you know, and experience. So I would say just be in the right mindset first, yeah, and right intentions. Okay. Any questions from this slide? Let's talk about this. I know some of you guys have experience teaching kids anyway, so ask me questions. Enzo.
Hello. What is your experience like as opposed to teaching kids, but teaching like your own peers and like even people who are older than you? How has that differed from younger age groups?
First, I would say it's kind of similar where you have to establish a boundary. You know, boundaries are really healthy. It's not like you're just being a rude person. No, boundaries are healthy, and that's the way how you separate from teacher and student. Because I have that phase of in the masses. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna blast y'all, but there's one point where it got really chaotic because people got so sensitive and we're wondering why. It's because like, yes, we're all friends, started this thing, and now I have to be the director or the one leading them, bless you. And if you correct them like one bit, they get hurt. You know, like they take it so personal because yes, we're peers, we're friends. And that problem went on for like actually a year or two because it's just like it's so hard to explain, and for my perspective I don't know what to do, right? So I keep just like reassuring them like I'm your friend, that this and that, but that's the wrong way to take it because again that boundary has to be set or they're gonna walk all over you. They're not bad people, of course, like all good people. It's just like when it in terms of being a teacher and a student, always have that boundary. That's what I'm trying to say, and make that clear. Yeah. And nowadays, I feel like I got better at it. Yeah, but I'm still on the nicer side of being a teacher, where I I can't really just like yell at person and be rude to them because they're not doing good, or like, you know, get your together. So yeah, I'm still working on it personally, but that's, I would say, boundaries really is the same throughout any ages as well. Yeah, as a teacher. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Yeah. Angela? Mike. Yeah.
Well, based on what you just said, you mentioned how boundaries are very important and they must be followed in a dance class. Does that mean that you make it very clear, as you say, but from the beginning of the dance class? Assuming you enter into a room of people, you don't know their age, and you're surprised they're either kids or adults or teenagers, let's say. So you have the pressure of adjusting your approach, but to lift some pressure from the teaching process, would you say it's better to establish the boundary right from the beginning?
Percent.
Um, Disrespect is not gonna be tolerated, but again, that might not be the best introduction. So
Mhm.
how would you give the boundary while at the same time giving a good introduction to a class?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if let's say I've been teaching this class for a long time, okay, or like it's a yearly program, because I know we teach at studios, and if we're in a regular program, it goes throughout the year, or like September to June, let's say. That I would really set that boundary, because especially teaching kids, from the get go. You have to, you know? And just as how we go with our classes in high school, or like in any schools that we go to, what's the first day? Teachers do expectations in this class, right? Like the rules, so I would say if that's the case, yes, right away. But if I'm going to somewhere like Mexico, for example, I'm just teaching a pop-up class, and I don't know anyone, right? I don't know the ages of people, like you said. From that perspective, you don't have to. Yes, yeah, but mostly when here's the thing. It's a funny thing that I've experienced. Like every time you go to a space and it's new, right? People actually act really good, because they're not familiar with you. They're not. You're like a new person, so everyone. It's like psychology. Everyone is like really respectful, really like listen to you properly, like very attentive. But if people are familiar with you, they can just cross the line for some reason. Yeah, again, it's psychology. It's very, familiar face. Yeah. So I would say if you're teaching a year-round program, yes, establish the boundaries, set it clear from the get-go, so they don't like walk all over you. If you're holding a pop-up class wherever, like even out of the country or nationally, a new space, it's fine to just, you know, be you, because they understand that, yeah, you're a teacher and you're visiting and you're here to share really your knowledge and wisdom. So they would respect that.
So it's more of if you see them again.
Yeah, yeah. The familiarity, that just causes the trouble, you know? Yeah. Thank you for that question. Yes. All right. Any other questions that we can think of? Like any experiences you guys have, like, okay, I'm dealing with this. How can I solve this problem? If you guys have something in mind.
How do you approach? So if you have short time and you don't have to, and you cannot teach foundations fully, or you have to do a project, and you're teaching like a team.
Yeah.
how you would approach the results of that versus discipline, of not discipline like behavior. What will be your process into like pushing the outcome in a short time to be able to see the outcome versus also teaching behavior at the same time?
Yeah, that's tricky. So I'm gonna repeat the question because he's so far for the twin, for the stream. Oh, okay, okay. No, for like the stream, like for the mic. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Let's say that you have like 2 days to do a project with parts of the community, but you're teaching them a combo, a routine that needs to be like a big outcome,
Yeah.
regardless the age. Let's say, well, let's not do it regardless the age. Let's say teenagers and 5 to 7. A group behave very bad, but you gotta push an outcome. You gotta do a show. How you will push the outcome and teach behavior at the same
At
time.
the same time. Yeah, I experienced that a lot because, for example, I'm teaching at indigenous reserves right now, actually. So I go to the reserve for a week, and then the next month do the same thing, a week, and then they have this program that we have to create this big routine, and we have limited, very limited time, right? Like 5 days in, 5 days. I mean, 5 days in a month, and that's it. You just trust them to practice it. No, they're not gonna practice. Like the next month you come back, you're like, wow, where did it all go? And then yes, when it's like time is not on your side, it creates this pressure that, wow, I have to get this finished at the same time. They're not behaving properly. It's like a very bad dynamic already to start. So I would say to fix that problem is start with the older kids. The older kids understand like what we're trying to do, what we're trying to finish. And that will trickle down to the younger kids too. Cuz again, like we can't do everything because you're one person trying to accommodate to so many personalities and different age groups, and different phases of their lives. So it's not gonna work if you try to take it on all by yourself. So I would say for the older kids, like have give them roles, like okay, like a captain, like for example, a captain can go over dances on their own and with the group. Um, if they get that responsibility or that role, they would actually feel, they're useful. So I would say, like, what age is the oldest, you would say?
Well, let's say 11 to 13.
11,
I
13.
believe that because for 14 to 17, you already kind of know in the room who leads.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of 11 to 13, where they are trying to develop that.
11.
Develop leadership, where there's maybe one person that is the leader,
Yeah.
and all the rest are just finding their way into all the fun,
Yeah.
and they get distracted really
Easily. Yeah. I would say, yeah, at 11, 13 years old is also tricky because, again, they're just going through a lot of changes and, like, they don't really, they're not solidified on why they're there. Yeah, like, when parents force you to go to a dance class and take it for the whole year, like, oh, man. You see kids just, like, not want to be there. But once they feel they're useful, I would say take the risk. Sometimes, like, the kid that like messing around a lot, if you actually give them something to do, they would like switch up. So take that risk of doing that, and it might work, it might not work. Again, kids are very unpredictable, but we can't do everything ourselves, and if we're trying to finish things, we have to have some help. Yeah. Did I answer your question? Okay. Thank you, bro. Appreciate that question. Yeah. Anyone else? Who here teaches kids? Yeah. There you go. Sometimes. Yeah. And question for you guys, like, at what age do you think you can at what age group do you think you can like be serious when talking? Like I would say talking deeper about the art. Does that make sense? Like, because kids they don't understand a lot of words yet. Like at what age group? Like that's a question for the teachers here. Mila.
I haven't taught a lot of like necessarily older ages, but I feel like maybe like I think it's more so a thing of like introducing little bits and pieces throughout to like build that foundation. Like I teach a 6 and 7 year old class, and like even from that, and even I've done it in like I think my 4 and 5 year old classes as well. Is like they know like we'll do a little quiz almost every class that's like they know like the 5 elements of hip hop, and they'll know like that sort of thing. And so there's ways that you can sort of like build in this little history and have a fun little like thing that they can remember, and then you can sort of like build that backstory a little bit. And then I think probably around like 8 to 10, I feel like is maybe still a little young, but I feel like 11 to 13, like if you're getting really into like, okay, where is this coming from? Talking about like the adversity aspects of it and like that sort of thing. I think that's where they can maybe actually like grasp sort of what's going on. That it's like, yeah, this is like a fun thing just for us in this sort of setting. But there's like a deeper history to it. But again, I feel like there's ways that you can like pepper it in throughout and like build up to that.
Yes. Yeah. That was a really good answer. Yeah. Thank you, Mila. Yeah, I fully agree with what you said. Yeah, like when I teach the younger kids, it's all about just quiz. Like yeah, if they remember, okay, 10 techniques of hip hop dance, like 5 elements of hip hop. Where did hip hop came from? Which year was it born? Something like that. But yeah, on the older kids, like 11 plus, I would say, we can start diving deeper into the meaning and the history, like you said, like all the things that make up the culture itself. Because kids, like younger kids, they just want to dance, you know, or not even maybe like kids. It's like babysitting, but that's besides the fact. But yeah, I agree with you. Do you guys like some the other teachers who raised their hands? Did you like kind of resonate with that? Like at what age group? Yeah, Layla.
Yeah, like to be a little bit on the opposite side of Mila, I kind of only have experience teaching older kids, not such younger kids. Like the youngest kid I've taught was probably 8. So I still have yet to like experience like below 8 of kids, but the older kids, yeah, definitely like way more like locked in with you, and like I would say like 15, 16, 17, those ages, definitely kids get like way more serious, I feel, about it, and like they're there because they want to be there, you know, versus like the younger kids, yeah, like what you were saying, like no, their parents probably just like paid for them to be in this class, so they're just doing all these cool things. So yeah, I definitely have been a little bit more easier with the older kids than the younger kids in my experience.
Yes.
Like, for me, it depends on the energy of the group. Like, sometimes in a class of 5 to 7 year olds, if the behavior is not like optimal, then granting them to teach the foundation is the battle itself.
100%.
But sometimes you have kids on the room that are 5 to 7 that they in that
Mhm.
way. But yeah, depth of like life stories and like sometimes even the stories about bad things that have happened
Mhm.
that led to awesome outcomes in between the culture. Definitely like 8 years old.
Yeah.
Because you can be a little bit more raw about
Yes.
these things for life lessons, things like that.
Yes. There we go. Yeah. That's yeah, really good answers because I feel like I want everyone to hear that too because different takes, different perspectives, right? Different experiences. So I hope you guys kind of like got something from each other's answers, even though like I'm presenting, but it takes again a community to really learn more about uh, how to teach better and how to just handle it better, in a lot of circumstances because we teach a lot. In Alberta and Calgary, there's not a lot of performance industry, so a lot of people resort to teaching, which is good and bad, right? But if we're resorting to that, then why don't we just help each other get better? Like ask questions about, oh, how do you tackle this issue, right? Like, and how do you, like what I asked, like when do you guys think it's the age group for diving deeper into the art? So you know what I mean? So it's like, thank you for that. Yeah. So good job for answering questions. All right, time check 3:12. Okay, so yeah, any other questions for teaching wise? Yes, Jordan.
For the like 3 to 5 age group,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of things are you focused on teaching them, especially with kids who are very distracted and don't really care for the learning part of it? Because it's a lot of like exploration and movement, I feel like,
Yes.
at those ages.
So like, how do you?
Yeah, like what are you teaching? How are you teaching it? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm teaching, first of all, is like the basics of the basics, like bounce, rock. The 10 techniques of hip hop dance is literally like what I go off of because they remember it. Like literally to this day, the kids I teach at Artist Avenue, they remember the 10 techniques because I drill into them so much and make it fun for them. Like, okay, the technique of waving, right? Like they explore their bodies a lot when it term in at that age. So let them be if they're like on the floor literally waving because I have those kids, right? Okay, roll. They literally roll on the ground, even though like roll is about circles, right? Or about that circular motion. So what I teach them is the techniques for hip hop specifically because yeah, I'm a hip hop teacher. The techniques of hip hop dance and also the elements, I would say, and I would add in party grooves as well. Like you would be surprised how much they remember. Like kids like that, like they were just messing around one class, like, and after like a month, you try to ask them a question like, "Can you do the party machine?" And they're like, "Wow!" Even though it's not perfect, right? Like they remember it because they have so much capacity at that age. So it's okay if they don't look like they care. They actually take in more. Like what I put it here, they absorb information more than we think, right? So it's okay. Yeah, like have patience in those kids that don't care, because most of the time it registers in their head. Yeah, and like one experience too, during Asian Heritage Month, I present to schools, so like literally little ones as well. And then I come back the next year or 2 years after, they remember what I said. I'm like, what? Like, are you guys serious? So it's like, yes, they at short term it's frustrating because like I'm teaching you like with all my heart and all my soul about this craft, and then you're just like rolling around and just like playing with something. But they trust me, they do. So yeah, thank you for that question. That's like really insightful though. Yeah, nice. Anyone else for teaching? Layla.
Um, what is your like? What is your process coming up with drills or like drills for, it doesn't have to specifically be for you, like a certain age, but like what is your artistic process with coming up with drills for like beginners in your classes? Like how do you go through that, and what's your process when it comes to making something for a kid to train or drill on their own? Um, yeah.
Like just like a kind of a set.
Like I know that you probably learn from other teachers too.
Yeah.
But like in your own way, like your process.
Yeah, in my process, in my experience teaching that the kids or beginners, especially, okay, let's go with the kids first. They're not gonna drill anything. Like I swear to God, like they're not gonna practice unless they're older, right? Like at that age of 8 and up, or even 11 and up, they would start drilling. But for younger kids, yeah, I some parents tell me like, oh, when he's at home, he's actually like practicing those moves, and I'm like, what, really? You know, like even though it looks like he's not paying attention in class. So kids unpredictable again, but like older kids or just older people in general, for beginner wise, I would say guide them through the intention first. It always about the intention, because and music, because how are they gonna dance to music that, or a dance style which they don't even listen to the music at all? You know, they can't grasp the feeling, the essence first. And to me, that's the most important thing out of everything when you're learning, when you're beginner and you're trying to get into something, right? Like house is so different from hip-hop. How can I learn house when I'm not even listening to house music a lot? So music first, and I would create playlists for them to listen to, and they would listen at home. Like when I go to high schools and teach foundations too, they ask for my playlist, because it's the hip hop playlist that I use in class. Just give it to them and trust that they're gonna listen, and then from then on, if they ask more for like, okay, like how do I get better at freestyling, or how to get better at this and that, now you can add the drills that you want to say, right? Like my experience in hip hop, he's from the masses actually. He's just dancing for like 3 years, 2 years now, and he really wants to, get better at freestyle like hip hop. And I told him, bro, listen to the music. After that music part is done, bounce and rock, that's your foundations, right? So you have to get creative in just the bounce and rock first. Don't add any other techniques. Just focus on that and learn how to love it just by doing that, because you love the music already. So it's easy to just vibe and keep doing the bounce and rock. And after that, you assess it. It's like, okay, if you really want to grow more, okay, show me what you got. And then from then on, you can add another technique to for them to drill. So that's how I would build it. Don't like kind of just overload them with so much things to focus on, because it's not, as older people too, our minds are always working with so much information in a day, right? And we can't really focus on, if you give, okay, practice this, practice that, and then after that you got to go down to levels, and then you got to do like direction changes, and you got to do the textures. Like it's not gonna like happen with their growth. It's not gonna align. Yeah, so if that makes sense. So yeah, thank you. All right, last thing, authenticity. Okay, if you guys are wondering what this picture is, that's where my community in the Philippines is. Like, that's where I live most of my like childhood. But my mom always tell me this: learn how to look back to your roots. Always. Like she's been saying in Tagalog, of course. She's been telling me this ever since, and I wrote here, where you're standing right now is the mixture of people you've met throughout your life and the lessons that came with them, good or bad. Yeah? And before I go to street dance culture, let's go just focus here. I believe in in looking back to the people who help you, or even like, you know, did you bad, don't forget them, because they're the ones that shape you today, and they're the ones who really like took an impact in your life. Think about this. In the world full of people, there's so many people in the world, and who you meet is like not a coincidence. Yeah? It's like for a reason that you meet people and learn something from them. Even if, again, good or bad, maybe they left you with a broken heart or like broken bank account. I don't know. Like, you know, there's so many people that make you experience life itself. And my mom tells me that learn how to look back to your roots. You know, learn how to reflect, and not just like out of spite. Like, oh, I don't like that person. Da, 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 da. But it teaches me this, you know. Now I know how to establish boundaries per se, right? Before I was love bombing, you know, like I love you so much, like I'll give this to you, experience my love, like it's all here. But you realize that after you know, separated ways, that taught you a lesson to not do that, you know. So everything that shapes who you are right now is people that you meet for a reason. And I stand by that so much. And I put this here, the picture, because in my childhood, I still remember to this day all the faces of people who I play with, like in the street. We're playing like street games, and their parents and their voices, you know, like it's just like it grounds me again to like, who am I, right? So yeah, that's why I put that picture there. And it's connected to street dance culture. Why? Because it's all rooted in struggle. Yes, so struggle is that binding thing that everyone can experience, right? And for street dance, everyone is welcome because we experience struggle in lives. We don't have to be from that gang culture. We don't have to be in the street culture, living that life, all that stuff. But we can relate to struggle, what we've been through, what we felt at that moment, and how can we channel that into something beautiful like dance, right? The art. And how can we just dig deep into that artistry that it makes you just, like, sometimes words can't even describe it. Yeah? Like how you feel, you just gotta like dance it out. And I was talking to some people in the crump session actually Friday night. It was really late. Dan was there. And I told Dan, when I see someone dancing with their hearts out, like fully, like you can tell that they're so deep in it, like it makes me emotional, because I kind of felt like a glimpse of how they're feeling. You know, I was watching this house dance battle in Dance Forever. You were just there, Ava. Yeah. Oh man, it's beautiful because her name is Tasha. Yeah, and just through the screen, right? My laptop, my YouTube, right? Like, I'm not there personally, I'm not there live, but when I saw her just transcend to like a spiritual level, like I shed a tear because I'm just like, wow, like I can't believe like that just happened, or like that feeling. Again, I can't express it, right? It's full of struggle. It's rooted from the heart. It's rooted from where that person came from or what they experienced. It's just like oozed out on the dance floor, and I'm like, wow. I want to feel that too, you know. That's why I want to get better and striving to get better at dance, because I want to channel that and fully express myself to where I feel free. In a world where we're all constricted with so many things, like trying to pay rent, make money, like there's so many other struggles, not just from that, right? But all walks of life have their own struggles that they're dealing with. And if we use the art the right way, it really binds us together. Does that make sense? Because yes, we're imperfect people. We make a lot of mistakes in life, and sometimes we don't even agree on a lot of stuff, right? But we all agree when we felt that struggle that happened in our lives once, twice, 100 times, 1,000 times, and when you see them diving deep into that art form, you can just relate it because it's like, damn, I'm getting emotional right now too because it's like that's just how passionate I am with and how I connect with dance because in my life that really just became my outlet, you know. So I want to like hear your guys' opinion too, or like share that moment where you felt like you could just be emotional because it just felt so good, it felt so right, you can't even explain it. Yeah, the floor is open now.
For me, it was probably one of my first sessions or a couple sessions in Crump. And I was doing a round, and I actually started screaming in my round, but like verbally. And I remember like not even like realizing that I was doing it
Yeah.
at the time, and then looking back at footage, I'm like, I was screaming, like screaming.
Fully
People were hearing me scream, and it was like, oh my god, like people felt it, and I felt it too. But like looking back, I was like, I don't remember actually like talking to myself saying I need to scream. I just did, and it was that was one of my like anchoring points in Crump, and just like it going further for me because I'm like, there's something here that I need to do,
Yes.
and I did it, and this dance style let me do that I probably have never was able to before because I did other styles before Crump. So yeah, that was probably one experience. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hear other people too. Like not even just dance, like even like just art in general. Like if you guys I know Ayushi makes art, so I don't know, but it's something like in your life that just you felt it or just watched someone like really felt it and you had like even goosebumps because like wow, they went on a different realm, they went on a different place.
I'd say the first time I went to a battle, I didn't know what freestyle at all were. I used to dance like in front of the mirror, just myself, and respectfully, I hated choreo, so I was like, whatever I'm doing is not choreo. I don't know what this is, but I'm just dancing in front of the mirror. And then I go to the battle and I realize that it's called freestyle. And the battle energy was absolutely amazing. Everyone, I don't think I've ever been in a space where people are so themselves. And I was like, oh my god, this is yeah, I'd say my first battle was very important in like feeling support and like what it means to be in a place where everyone's just so themselves and watching people is also very amazing. Yeah. I feel like house is definitely the dance when I watch people I'm just like, wow, you're amazing. But yeah, yeah, it's very feelings based. That's like the whole reason I dance. I feel like a lot of
Yeah. All right. Last one actually. Okay, I know it's 3:31, but yeah. Last one who wants to share. Yeah. Go ahead.
Um, well, for me, I think it was a big moment where I came back to dance and like in its authenticity for myself was I was a ballet dancer before and I had to quit because I long story. But the point is, I went traveling and I ended up volunteering in the Fijian community and we just lived in a village out there and yeah, I at the time my identity as a dancer was like squashed. I was like, I am not a dancer in any capacity, but yeah, just connecting. It was something so, as simple as just having a party with the village and blasting tunes and just simply vibing, like catching a groove, and then people being like, "What? You're a dancer? That's crazy!" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. Like that's not who I am anymore." But like being able to connect with so many different people, different, like not even speaking the same language, and like that being something that is just clearly such a part of my identity, whether I believed it or not, was like that was such a big moment for myself to connect back to like the authenticity of dance and like connecting with people. And like aside from that, yeah, I was at summer dance forever and just seeing like I cried every day, just crying. Or like I went to South Africa and I cried every day, just walking through the streets and hearing piano in every taxi and every grocery store and just like being immersed in the space and the culture. Those moments are like really what brings me back to my love of dance. Yeah, I think that those are some bigger moments for myself. Yeah.
You guys for sharing. Anyone else want to share? Because I know it's a very real topic. You feel like you want to share it, go for it, okay? Even though you're getting lots of time.
I'll share one more. I have a lot, but I'm gonna share one that it really resonates to me with it. Like when I came here, I also came here by myself and I left everything behind. And the community and a lot of my crews are my family, for real. And they have seen me dancing. Probably almost have seen me dancing with a lot of like pain. But one that resonates to me a lot is like I did last year all this like jazz situation performance, and I was learning rumba and guaguancó, a lot of like Cuban stuff that are like my Latino foundation, but on the other side, I learned how to do these things as a kid, but I never like got fully into like deep in the depth of the foundation of that style. So I just was like rep, like being a student and revisiting situation. And doing that, the person that was teaching, they put music that reminds me so much to my mom. And the dance steps too that my mom teach me when I was a kid, while like just doing chores situation. And I could not stop crying in class, man. Like random, it's like I could not stop. Because that brought me so much joy, but on the other side, like hardship of like not being able to have that access. So sometimes the body just like we have our body memory as well, right? Like, and sometimes we dance to forgive or to forget. And sometimes we dance to remember remember, and sometimes you don't even know how many things you storage on your body that are like emotional things that reminds you to going back home, like to yourself. And for me, that was a moment in which I was like, I miss my mom right now, like for real. Like I wish I could just like have her here to watch this stuff. Because a lot of those moments were the moments that driven me into like pursuing what I have become. Man, I believe that dance just gave us this, you know, like gave us this ability to elevate and to mirror. Sometimes we encounter moments that we don't want to face, and things we have to face something else, true dance.
Yes. Man, yeah, it's beautiful. Like it's when we really dive deep into that side of things, it's like, yeah, I can't even explain it in the words. But again, we're people at the end of the day. We're imperfect, and we strive to be authentic in the best way we can. And in the street dance culture, it's we all know struggle, right? Like what you said, it's like you go back to that happy place, you know, your mom just like doing chores and you're doing the steps already, like because you went through so much struggle, and that's like that made you feel the comfort, right? And then what you experience of again, like those other people too, they experience struggle every day, but they're there just vibing, just letting it all out, and everything will be all right, pretty much, because they're like just using that as an expression. So yeah, that's authenticity, guys. Like, thank you guys so much. That's a wrap on my presentation for today. Thank you again, Catfish, for inviting me here. So yeah, wow, yeah, thank you guys.
Being very authentic, because that takes
Appreciate it.
courage. It takes courage to put yourself in the position where you can be light with your own life. Thank you for that too.
Yes, bro. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Boom.
Again, thank you, Alan, once again, man.
Yes, thank you, bro.
Right now, it's just like last week. Catfish is going to play some tracks. If you feel like dancing, feel free dancing, but it's also at the same time, it's a social. So feel free to ask questions of each other, take Alan's mind. But yeah, this is amazing stuff. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you all. Yes, I want to dance now.